Good day from quite a cold South Africa. My name is Dr. Antoinique van Staden, and I'm going to speak to you today about plain language principles and strategies for communicating difficult topics or just to communicate clearly in general. So, why do we communicate? For us at GARC, we communicate specifically to build awareness, to engage supporters, stakeholders, and potential funding partners, and to drive action. Our challenge is that our impact depends on the people understanding us and being able to take action. So, not just us providing information, but people being able to understand the information and doing something with it. So, before we can ask why plain language, we need to ask what is plain language. So, plain language is the writing and setting out of essential information in a way that gives a cooperative, motivated person a good chance of understanding it at first reading, and in the same sense that the author or the writer meant it to be understood. So, this means that readers can find what they need, understand what they find, and use what they understand. So, why plain language? Clear communication builds trust, it increases engagement, and it inspires action. For us at GARC, plain language leads to better outcomes from our programs, more efficient use of our resources, increased confidence from potential donors and partners, and a reduced risk of miscommunication. Because for us, miscommunication could potentially have dire consequences. So, what are plain language principles that you can start using today? Start by asking yourself when you're creating content, who am I communicating with? So, who is my audience? Who will be reading or listening to this? And then ask, why am I communicating? Am I sharing this information or am I trying to impress the audience? Because it's two different reasons for communicating. Once I've asked the who and the why, then I can ask the what. What challenges might my audience experience? Consider English as a home language. In South Africa, 90% of our communities speak English as a second or a third language, not as a home language. So we need to consider what are the linguistic challenges that they might have. What words might they not understand? Consider the impact that words have politically. Words matter and they have meaning, and we need to understand what they could potentially mean for our audience. And then we need to ask why our audience would need this information. Why do we have to provide this? And when we've decided why they need it, then we need to ask how can we motivate them? The average attention span in the world is going down. People are being able to concentrate for shorter periods of time. So we want somebody to stay engaged enough that they can finish reading a very important document. So we need to ask what is relevant to them. So not providing them all the information, only giving them what is relevant. And then asking ourselves, what would we want the audience to do with the communication and with the content? So starting from this stepping stone, step one, we now need to consider that plain language is not about you, it's about the audience. And it places the audience at the heart of your communications. And how do you do that? With practical guidance. So, the plain language strategies that I'm going to be discussing today are the ones that we use at GARC, and they are by no means the only ones out there. These are just the ones that are quite easy, I want to say, to start implementing today or with your content without being a grammar specialist or a communication specialist. These are things that we can all do things that we can think about. So the first one is words that you'll use words that your reader will understand. It's not about dumbing down information. It is about using words that are necessary for my audience. Use short sentences. What is a short sentence? Well, currently research suggests that sentences between 15 to 20 words is small enough for people to be able to retain the information and not reread several times. This might change in a couple of years, but for now, it's 15 to 20 words. Then vertical lists. This helps us to break up long sentences, complicated paragraphs, and helps the reader to focus on the main points that we are trying to highlight. Then it is always better to use the active rather than the passive voice in sentences, because in the active, the who is important, and in the passive, the what is important. But active also gives us a chance to be more action driven in the communication. So we're giving somebody the what can you do or the action after the content. And it also makes it a bit more personal, which then leads us to the last strategy of engaging your reader. If you do the first four, you will start motivating somebody to engage with your content and not just click away or throw away or turn the page. So first example from GARC. This is our World Rabies Day 2024 content. I started at GARC at 2025, so it is quite easy for me to be very judgy about what was done before. And it doesn't mean that it was wrong. It's just that I bring a different plain language perspective. So in this paragraph, we have two words that could be quite complicated for second language readers to understand. Words like uniting and exemplified. So my plain language solution would be replacing uniting. Thank you for uniting with us. With joining. Thank you for joining us. Exemplified, rather showed. So we truly broke rabies boundaries and showed unity and collaboration. When we use words that people can understand and that they don't have to think about, then it's easier for them to also understand our message. If you think about a dirty window, if the window is clean, the view is great. And if the window is dirty, then all you can see is the dirty window. So we want to give our audience just a clear view of what it is that we are trying to say. Then using short sentences. So in this sentence, we have 29 words. It's not too long. It's only double the minimum that we suggest. So what I do when it's too long the sentences that are beyond my minimum requirements, I then count the number of ands to break up the idea. So I see in this sentence example, we have 3 ands. So definitely more than one thought. So I broke it up after the second and. So together we truly broke rabies boundaries to show unity and collaboration. Full stop, because in our efforts to deliver is a new concept and a new idea. A small caveat, grammatically, you could still change a lot of the wording that comes after that. These are just short examples of things that you can start looking out for in your own writing. Then using a vertical list. So this paragraph, I take full ownership of. I wrote the top one, and it was definitely not as clear as it could be. So for vertical lists, you count the commas. So for short sentences, you count the ands, and for vertical lists, we count the commas. So here we have 1, 2, 3 commas. So we can definitely list items to make it clearer what we are trying to talk about. So animal welfare workers, veterinary professionals, and community stakeholders joined Funda Ninja to learn more about creating awareness, how to prevent dog bites, how to mainly handle animals, and how developing community education strategies for lasting impact. Just a short note on consistency. You need to be consistent in the way that you format your vertical list. So if we look at the example here, the C for creating is in capital letters, and then we have the how, and the D for developing in small caps. So either make everything capital letters or everything not capital letters. And then the verb here as well, creating rabies awareness, and then how to prevent. So it should rather be creating rabies awareness and then preventing dog bites, handling, because that's my verb, handling animals humanely, and developing community education. So this is really important for vertical lists. You want things to be consistent, because otherwise you are creating things that don't quite look right, and the human eye is especially adept at finding the things that just don't look the same. And then our active rather than passive voice. This is an example from one of our courses. Dogs that are being handled by their owner during the vaccination event are usually more comfortable. So we could change it to owners handling their dogs during the vaccination event usually makes the dogs more comfortable. You could say makes them more comfortable, but then you're adding ambiguity because will the them be referring to the owners, so it makes the owners more comfortable, or is it about the dogs being comfortable? So that's why I use dogs rather, because being specific always makes for clear communication. And then I was a little bit cheeky and I took some examples from ICANN's website just because I couldn't help myself. So I found an example of a long sentence, 40 words to be exact, and also a sentence that was being read as talking to the reader and not necessarily with the reader. So it wasn't very engaging. And I proposed the following solutions. For the first sentence, I would put a full stop after the globally, because by exchanging view is now a separate concept, separate idea. So full stop after globally, and we do this by so now you've broken up the 40-word sentence into a 24-word sentence, and then 17 words, which is still it's a bit more manageable and digestible. And then in the second example, I just focused here on where arising issues could be discussed. It feels non-engaging. It's a bit passively because who is discussing it? Why? I'm asking myself as a reader, why is this important? Who are the people that I should care about? So one suggestion would be ways of working full stop. However, they had no forum where they could discuss arising issues, or these animal welfare organizations had no forum where they could discuss arising issues. This makes things personal. It's adding a personal pronoun, and it just makes me feel like I have a character that I can hold on to. So you can start using these plain language principles and strategies today. You can think about how you can engage your reader. Start by asking the right questions. Remind yourself of the purpose of why are you communicating, and then also asking yourself which of the strategies that we discussed would benefit you the most. So you're asking plain language, really, does it really work? I can only give you a small the proof is in the pudding from GARC side. So we did a complete rebrand. We've reworked our website content. So we'll only be focusing on that. We've reworked a lot of communications, but the data from the website content is quite clear in the sense that after implementing our plain language communication strategy, our traffic on our data has increased by 63%. Um, our hard to find content has improved, and people are more able to search and accurately land on what they need. This helps us also to communicate our core message more clearly. Our longest session has increased by 13%, which means people are spending more time engaging with our content. They're not just immediately leaving our website. And then our shortest sessions, I'm very excited about this one, decreased by 52%. And this is a sign of efficiency. So people previously spending 46 seconds searching for something that they probably couldn't find, they now find quicker and they can move on and go to the relevant content. So quite proud of these metrics. So it does work from what we've seen in the last year. So for us at GARC, plain language is not a nice to have. It is critical to our vision and mission of making a world free from dog rabies a reality for everyone. We are responsible for animal and human lives. And remember, clear communication saves lives. Thank you.